Take the nod pill and be able to see in the dark. Take the thermal pill and be able to see your bro piss at night. Which way, Western man?
So, the Instagram, YouTube, Reddit industrial complex has convinced you that because you're able to spot people with nods pretty easily with a thermal, you should buy your thermal first and just skip buying your nods. Well, I'm here to convince you that you should do the opposite and you should buy your nods first for very few important reasons. Namely, if you really think about it, all the tasks leading up to you using your thermal to spot other people cannot be done in the dark without nods. Let me elaborate. Nods let you do something great, which is walk around and see in the dark. Thermals, anyone who has strapped a thermal to their face can tell you straight away that you can't walk around with just thermals, because the color palette is constantly shifting, everything is a wash of gray and white, and it will highlight whatever in your FOV is the warmest. So if you're walking around, say, a forest, now all the tree trunks are orange and everything is just gray and white. Whereas if you're walking around with your friends, now your friends are highlighted and everything else is completely indistinct. You get what I'm saying? You won't be able to see micro-terrain like, like sticks and like random tree trunks that will absolutely make you eat shit, especially if you have a huge ruck on your back. Complete ass. And I've done it. I've tried walking with just a thermal and I almost ate shit on a tree trunk. First try. And this is someone who has owned their thermal for almost 2 years now. Other than walking around, doing small tasks, reloading, passive aiming, active aiming, messing with stuff in your ruck, messing with stuff in your pouches, you can't do that with a thermal. So just getting into that spot where you are expecting to see other people, you can't do that without nods in the dark. Nods let you do this very magical thing called seeing a very special, a very near and dear spectrum to my heart, not the autism spectrum. See the spectrum of light called IR light. Infrared light, which you are able to see with thermal, just a different kind, and not the kind that's important, because the main thing that uses IR light that you will encounter is IR laser aiming modules. And if someone is waving a laser in my general direction, I kind of want to be able to know that. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, but if I have a thermal, I should be able to see this person with a laser. Not quite, because thermals cannot see through thick shrubbery, dense brush, can't see through trees, can't see through a lot of things. So if this person is well obscured or has something that will disperse their heat and they're taking a shot at you, well, you might be a little cooked. So yeah, if someone is using a laser, someone is using some kind of IR light to communicate with another person, I want to be able to know that's going on. In places, in urban areas with a lot of buildings, glass and so on, you're going to have trouble with thermal. You won't be able to see through glass. That's like a huge thing. And glass includes the windshield of your car, which means you can't drive with just a thermal. You're going to need nods. And for that, I would recommend having binos and not monos to drive. That's the only case where I would advocate for people to buy binos before monos. I know I made a whole video about how you should buy a mono first, but yeah. There shouldn't be anyone here. Anyways, so on the topic of aiming, if you have a head-mounted thermal that you've been using to scan, to take a shot, you would have to unmount it from your head, mount it onto your rifle, and then take the shot. If you have a weapon-mounted thermal, you run into the issue of you're only scanning when you're aiming down sight, and you could easily, miss something. Whereas if you have a nod and you see something, you could just fire your laser and then take the shot. You don't have to go through all this, bullshit, basically. Which is why most people I know prefer to use binos with a Cody. All this is not even taking into account the fact that some thermals require nods to operate, that being clip-on thermals or Codys. Most people I know who own nods and thermals prefer the binos with Cody setup because they find it the easiest to use. They scan around, they can see in the dark, and they can see any thermal signatures. If they need to take a shot, they fire their laser and they take the shot. Easy peasy. And they get depth because both eyes are under nods. And they can drive because, again, nods can see through glass. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. So if you are planning to buy a Cody in the future, you're gonna need nods. So you're gonna buy your nods first. So all this to say, you should buy your nods first. Again, I'm gonna say all this to say again. Holy shit. All this to say, you shouldn't even be considering nods or thermals if you don't have a general purpose rifle that's dialed in, kitted out, and you have 10 mags and you have a big stockpile of ammo and a shitload of fucking trigger time. You should have all that dialed in before you even breathe in the general postal code of getting nods or thermals. But yeah, I'm not gonna say that too loud because, you know, CSIS or Canadian CIA is gonna, you know, come for my ass again. But yeah. Also, there are a couple of activities that you get to do with nods. This isn't legal advice, but a lot of trail cameras and surveillance cameras use IR light to record at night. So it becomes, you know, pretty easy to spot them under nods. Not saying if I've done that before, but I hope you guys enjoyed this short video. If you liked it, subscribe.
Special thanks to Cold Harbor Supply for partnering with my channel. If you guys are interested in night vision, thermals, or more, check out my link in description, link in pinned comment. Use my code T97thought-5 for 5% off your next purchase.